Hi guys, this video is for you if you want to transition into tech as a backend engineer, or you're currently in that process and you want to learn one or two things from a senior backend engineer with about 7 years experience already. Okay, yeah. So I know someone would ask me, so what do backend engineers do? So basically, they build structure of software application for businesses, right? And also sometimes they are responsible for building business logic. I mean, that's to show the flow of the whole software application for businesses. Backend engineers also build server scripts. And more importantly, they are also responsible for building application programming interface, which is what we call the APIs, right? That eventually get utilized by the front end developers and then the UI UX designers. My guest today on Tech Chat with iSlimFit is a senior backend software engineer who works with Colab Software, a Canadian tech company. Of course, she stays in the UK. She works remotely for the Canadian company. And it's interesting to know that she moved to the UK on the Technician Global Talent Visa, also like myself. Apart from working with Colab Software, she also consults for startups in defining and setting up scalable systems, especially in the AI, Fintech, and Web3 sector across the globe. Before I start, if you're a new viewer, I mean, if you're not a returning viewer, this is the first time you're stumbling or you're watching my video on this channel, please kindly subscribe to this channel by clicking that icon below. And not just that, click the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. And more importantly, please share this video with people in your network, right? People you know that want to be backend engineers, or they are training to be backend engineers, right? Share with them on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and even on your WhatsApp. Yeah, so welcome, Eyi, and thanks so much for accepting my invitation. Thanks for agreeing to do this with me. And so let's start this episode with questions about your background, right? Let's go back back into your background. How did you start? How did you get into tech?
Hmm. I don't really think I started. I've always been in tech. So funny thing is, the first time I saw a computer was when I decided that I wanted to do something related to computers, and I was 11 years old at that time.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
Sorry, what was I doing when I was 11? Maybe I was rolling tires up and down.
it was a private school, right?
Okay.
So yes, I think I was in JS2. Yeah, at that time. So we had this computer lab, and then
Where was this? Lagos?
yes, Lagos.
Oh, okay.
So would they'll schedule each class for, like, we take each of the classes will take turns to go into the computer lab. So like whenever it was my class turn, I'll go in there and I'll be looking at the computer and I'll start wondering, like, okay, you can do this, you can do that, you can type stuff and sit there, and then sometimes you can play music or watch a those days it was all those desktop computers.
Desktop, yeah.
Yeah, so we can slot in CDs, and so I was wondering,
All
like,
those 3.5 inches.
you know, yeah,
Back in the day.
yeah, back in the days. So I just kept wondering, like, how does this work? Like, why does it work this way? Why can you do all of those things, but you cannot do all of the same thing on a TV?
Because they are both boxes, I mean.
You get it? So because they were both boxes and they were both screens. They had screens, and so I just kept wondering, and so I started asking the teachers then, like, what's the difference? Like, why is this different? What makes this one work this way? Why is why is the TV just confined
If
to,
I were a teacher, I would tell you the TV is black.
and this one
This one is
is
white.
colored? I wish. Well, they didn't give me good answers anyway. They didn't know either. So,
Okay.
so I told myself, okay, I was going to try figure out what makes the computer work. So, just three. The teachers would be like, "You, do you want to go to science class or do you want to go?" I said, "I don't know which one, but
Yeah.
I want to do things that are related to computers. I want to understand what makes the computer work the way it does." So I think that was the first. That was my first interest in computers. So eventually they said, okay, just three. So yes, that's science class. I said, good, fine, I'm going to science class. So that was how I found myself in science class. So after that, no, I was now writing jam period SS3. I was to write jam. My older sister was like, so what course do you want to study? I'm like, see, just look for any course that has computer in it. Then I told him most likely computer engineering. I didn't know there was something like computer science, but just so it was more computer engineering was more popular at that time. So I was like, she was like computer engineer. I said yes, as far as there's computer there, put it. Said okay. So she but then the school did not have computer engineering. Then she told me it was computer science. I said perfect, just put it there. So that was how I got into studying computer. But of course, Nigerian university is very funny. So
I don't want to tell you my own story.
so we ended up doing mostly mathematics, right? Maybe your story may even be more
It's the same
interesting.
thing, mathematics and further maths. They will tell you are studying computer science. Mathematics is all true.
Yeah,
Don't even mention my school.
it's crazy.
Idea.
It's really crazy,
So
man.
what
That
school was that?
Ambrose Ali University.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
yeah.
Did you
So
guys at any point have a computer lab in the university? Was there any period you guys did practical? It's always a long story.
let me not talk too much. We had to answer that question. Yes, we had computer lab, but you know, we actually did a course on web design. The entire web design course were three classes. The first class, practical actually, the first practical class, we went into the lab. The teacher was like, welcome to web design, blah blah blah. Went into the lab. He said we had computers in our front. Then he told us create an HTML page, type this, type that, type that, and save it and close it. Then go and open it here in the browser, and you've built your first website. So we're like, oh good, everybody was excited, like, this actually makes sense, right? the next class the next class we still did something similar. We created another page and tried to
Just
add.
basic
And the
HTML
third
page.
class was actually a test, one of those continuous those midterm test kind of thing, which of course I was able to create my own HTML page too, and I've created my website and loaded it, and I scored 30 in that one. So that was the whole entire web design class. But yeah, let me backtrack to my story.
Okay.
So yeah, it was disappointing that the university system was not exactly how I thought.
Well,
It
I
was
don't know. I don't know how better it is now, but I mean, when I hear stories like this, it's always very disappointing because I mean, I can relate. Producer, cut, really? No, no. Let's continue. Let's put it in it. When I hear stories like this, I can relate. I can relate. But thank God, I think the new set of students this generation should have it better, and hopefully, I
Mhm.
don't know how it works right now, but I've heard stories of students in especially all these private units. I mean, they have it better right now, and
Yeah.
hopefully, it still remains the same. Sorry to cut you short.
Yeah. So I actually think they do. So because even people who graduated from my school, I'm seeing a couple of them doing great stuff now in tech.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think like the world is more aware, unlike our time, right? Some of those didn't who were just getting used to the internet at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but people are now used to the internet, so there's a lot of more information and that is readily available. You just need to find the right way to plug yourself in. So, anyways, back to my story. We didn't eventually get to do lots of programming then. We actually did Fortran, and in my mind, I was writing Fortran application on paper, wrote test. In my mind, it was working, everything
How
was
about
good.
COBOL?
No, we didn't do. We didn't do. We
My
only
own
did
was COBOL
basic.
on paper
No, we did basic, Visual Basic.
and
Yeah.
SQL.
Ah, gosh.
That's not software.
Nigeria. Anyways, it's crazy, man. Eventually, then I saw someone who was doing, because I was doing Fortran, and in my mind, yes, it was working, and I felt like this is I actually want to do this, right? At least if they say software programs are the things that run on computers, actually makes computer work and do all of those things, right? Like I need to be able to build those programs, right? So yeah, so that's I actually got that interest in that Fortran, and in my mind, my Fortran application was working on paper, wrote Fortran exam, all of that happened. So then in 300 level, I met someone who I think it was actually in 300 or final 300 level second semester. Yes, my lecturer we had so they had allotted supervisors for the next year. So I had to do a meeting with my supervisors, and I met someone in the supervisor's office who turned out to be the best graduating student in the previous set. So my lecturer introduced me to or him to me,
To the
and like,
person.
I should actually speak with Mike. Mike is was one of the best creating students, and Mike does this and does that and does that. I'm like, oh, good. So I connected with Mike, and Mike was doing C sharp. So I was like, yeah, I think I've actually, this is the first time I'm seeing people actually doing something that makes more sense in a real world scenario. Like, it was actually building stuff for some of the lecturers. So I was like, okay, I'd like to learn from you. Yeah, but then that one went down the drain because along the lines, my laptop was stolen, so I couldn't even
Oh,
learn it.
wow.
So, anyways, I graduated at the end of the day, graduated, and then during NYSC, I still refer. My NYSC was a pivotal point in my entire career.
Career.
So during NYSC, it was 19,500, I think, or 800. So I did my NYSC in Enugu. Good for me. I had an uncle there. I stayed with my uncle, so I didn't have to pay lots of um rent, and yeah,
Expenses
so all of
and
those
all that.
expenses were not there. So I was able to save 4 months of my allowance to buy a laptop. So I met someone during the orientation who was also doing C sharp. I was like, I would like to learn this thing again. I'll save money and buy my laptop, then I'll come and meet you, then you teach me. So that was the plan. So I got the laptop, but the guy was living far away. Then it turned out that someone else in my own CDS at that time too was that person's friend, but I didn't even know. They were all Lautech students, and they were all, I think at that time, some Lautech students were already doing good stuff in
Yeah,
programming.
yeah, okay, yeah.
So yeah, these two guys turned out to be good friends, but they were just in separate CDS. So I now met this one in this my CDS, and I told him, he was saying something about computers somewhere in one of the CDS groups. And then I went to meet him. I'm like, yes, I heard you saying this, that it seemed like you know a lot of those things. He was like, yes, that he does that. I'm like, oh, I actually wanted to meet. I met someone before that was to teach me, but the person is far away, so I can't. Just like, oh, he can teach me. Then we started talking. So I decided that I was going to enroll with him after I get my laptop. So that was how I actually started learning about actual software development.
So then you
So
started with C sharp,
no, the guy was teaching me Java. I didn't
Java.
eventually.
Okay,
He knew Java. Though my other friend knew C sharp,
okay.
so I had to learn Java. So he started teaching me Java. I paid him. I bought my laptop. I started taking classes. But all the stuff I was building at that time, I didn't really know about Java for web and all of that. So most of them were all desktop applications. I was wondering, like, me, I don't want to just be building stuff that will be on my laptop now. When will it be used? Like, so
You
he
want
now,
something that has
yeah,
a real life
yes,
application.
yes. And I wanted something that other people can use,
Yeah.
not just something I would just build and to be here, right? But I actually built a couple of small projects at that time. So my laptop then, there was an issue with it. I didn't know. I think it was the new Windows. So I didn't know how to find the power, because it was an updated operating system. So some of those things were hidden. So you have to know it. So I now built an application that will help me when once I launch the app, I will just be able to click to shut down or
Oh,
restart or
without pressing
hibernate
anything.
without going to, no, it doesn't even, yeah, it didn't need to press the button, but there was somewhere else. It was the update. So the whole Windows OS at that time was kind of new to me. So I just built an application that would make it easy for me to just do all those things I want to do. So that was like, I was like, okay, I'm actually now doing something. No wala. So eventually I told the guy that I wanted to actually build stuff that other people can use. I don't want to just be building stuff. Then he told me about web development, like building for the web. I'm like, okay, that sounds exciting. So he now started and I was like, at that time I was close to wrapping up NYSC Sha. So Sha told me about PHP, then and I started learning about PHP gradually, and then yeah, finished NYSC, came back to Lagos, and joined, I think, CC about the program later on in the year. Had a program for ladies that were interested in tech or building a
Okay.
tech business and stuff. So I applied for that program with the whole mind that, oh, they were going to also teach me programming, let me learn. But yeah, anyways, that shall help me launch my career
Your current tech.
in tech. So I started figuring out things by myself. So yeah, that's where how I got started. I would say that's how I actually got started in tech itself.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks. I mean, that's quite an interesting story. And one thing I picked from that, which I think is similar for most people in tech, is the fact that most of the skills they've picked up, right, aren't necessarily taught in schools, especially universities, right? you go out there, I mean, even after your university or during your university to seek further skills, right? Either by registering in one of these schools, tech schools, or I mean, by working together with friends or partner with friends or learning from friends, which is very, very good, right? So, I mean, yes. So after the CCO experience, after registering with CCO, so I mean, so what happens after then? I mean, let's talk about your first job in tech.
Okay. So the CCO of experience during after the CCO of
Yeah,
experience on the day we were to pitch, what the idea that we all had. I met someone else, and who had been at CCO for a while.
yeah,
So he was like, he's trying to build this, and he listened to my pitch, and he thinks that it would be great for me to we can merge ideas. Since I said I wanted to do something, like I wanted to like teach people, transfer some of the learning, the things I was learning to, because I saw that it was difficult for people when they graduate from school to find a job. So
yeah.
most times people are confused, right? So they don't know what to do next. So I met that guy and we talked about that. I was like, yeah, he's also building something in line with that. So that we should come together and actually start a company, a startup. So yeah, my first job in tech was that,
That's
like
startup.
co-founding a startup. So yeah, so
What's the name
eventually
of the startup? Is
it's
it
called
still
Codulab. I
Colab?
left. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm no longer part of the startup. I
Oh,
left
okay.
in
Okay.
2017. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
yeah, I we did that. We did a couple of there was this popular at that time amongst universities. We were in 10 universities at the time. It was called Code Class. So that was like the first time that you hear that, programming apart from Google developer groups, code class was the main thing in universities then. Where at OAU, like we're about at about 10 universities, teaching university students how to code and like pairing them up with internship opportunities. So that's what the startup was about. So eventually I left in 2017, and then in 2017 I went to uh, I wasn't I went to MEST. So MEST is a Metropolitan Entrepreneurial School of Technology. So I've not like really before last year, I think, yeah, I've not really done anything around being fully
Yeah.
employed,
Yeah.
like
You were
like an employee.
working for yourself. I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
building things
yes,
for people and for
yes,
yourself. I get.
yes.
Yeah.
I was mostly building stuff for people, or having my own stuff that I'm doing, or consulting kind of thing. So that's what I was doing. Then I went to MEST, and it was at MEST actually learned about Python.
Okay.
So I moved from PHP to Python. So all the while I'd been doing PHP at that startup, because we're also building product for organizations, right? One of the products we built at that time was a chatbot for BBC,
Oh,
which
okay.
we deployed for BBC at the time. So it was on PHP. So eventually I picked up Python in at MEST, learned about Python, and then started doing stuff in AI. Started writing about AI
Wait,
and stuff.
we'll get to that.
So
So
yeah,
let's. So in simple terms, right? For someone who is not in tech, so if you want to describe what backend engineers do in simple terms, how will you say it? How do they do it, and what do they do? Maybe let's relate it to your current role.
backend engineers. So in my current role, backend engineers are engineers, the software engineers that have to like plan, uh, maintain servers. So basically, think about it in terms of you're on Jumia, for example, or
Yeah.
you're on any website, Amazon, for example, and you want to check and you want to buy stuff on those websites. You want to check out. So you pick an item, you'd put it in a cart and then check out, right? So the work of the back, all of those things you're seeing on the front end, being able to select the item, add it to a cart, and eventually check out. Those part of the things you see on the front,
The
are
front end.
front end, right? But the back end people come in where they collect the information from the basket that you're checking out from. Make it that it is the back end logic that is the back end engineers who design the logic behind or write the code.
That makes the
Yes,
front end happen.
that makes the front end function. So all of those checkouts you're doing, for example, the backend logic is what makes it possible for you to actually now enter your card details and then eventually pay, and then you eventually see a success message later on the front end, right? So the backend is mostly responsible for most of the things that happens behind the scenes of any any application you see out there. So they make it like it's more like the brain box of the app. right? The everything, the logic, the logic of the value that the app is delivering,
Okay.
right? The backend actually makes those things happen.
Okay, so I've heard about backend engineer, which is what you do. I've also heard of backend developers. Are there similarities or is there a difference?
Yeah,
Or they can be
so
used interchangeably?
they are mostly used interchangeably, so they kind of do the same thing. They do the same thing, right?
Okay.
But then, and they but usually would a developer is mostly about implementing stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So building stuff, implementing those things. But then an engineer is the one that actually plans around
How
how
this
this
thing
thing
would
should be.
work.
Yes, how it
Okay.
should be. So more like a developer is an implementer most of the times, right? But engineers are the people that think about all of these things, how they work together, right? How each part of the system works, like um, designing those system. Yeah, back engineers also implement, but beyond the implementing, they actually design and then maintain it in the long term. So they think about the system from on an end to end basis. So not just,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want to build this API. Oh, what do you want to do? Use Python. Okay, let's use Python. Let's start building API. No. So that's mostly what a dev would do, like a backend dev would like, okay, we want to do the API. The API will be like, but the engineer thinks about it. Oh, what can yeah, the backend also thinks about what kind of data we're going to use. But beyond all of those other beyond all of those, the engineer actually thinks about um scaling the system, right? How do we ensure that the data we're collecting can be, if we now get more requests, for example, let's say we have a celebrity come on board and everyone is trying to now use the app,
Yeah.
right? Well, how do we ensure that this thing
How
does
do you
not
handle
break?
the traffic?
You understand? How do we so the engineer thinks about it in those holistically. So but the developer most of the time just implements those things that the engineer thinks about.
Is that so? Is that where full stack developer comes in to play? I mean, so what's the role of a full stack? Is it someone that has that is skilled in both sides
um
of the divide?
so the front end is the part that you see that is responsible for you picking, clicking, all of the things you see on the front
Mm-hmm.
end, all those dynamism you see on the front end. The back end handle behind the scenes
Yeah.
operation.
Okay.
But a full stack person knows how to do both,
Both. Yeah.
from the front end to for actually how the app looks like, from
Mm-hmm.
what how users will interact with it, on a user level. That's the interface they get to see and how they interact with it, how a user interacts with it and experiences the site. So if a front end person will do that, but a full stack person does the front end and does
And
the
the
back
back end
end.
to get yeah, so that reminds me. I mean, there was a tweet I put. I think it was last month or so, where I was working with a front end guy, right? I mean, on a project. My UI UX person has designed a web. I mean, a page, a platform, right? He just needed to convert that design, that Figma design, into a platform that is working. But then again, the Figma page that the UX designer presented was appealing and sweet, and then this front end person came with something that wasn't even similar. I mean, it doesn't even corroborate what this guy has presented. It was looking awful, and I was like, "Why do front end guys do this? You see, you Figma UX page on Figma that is very sweet, and then front end will come and then give you what is not."
If you
I don't
design
mean to put you on spot. I
Oh,
mean,
sure. That's
just
fine.
yeah,
So if you design, there's the job of a UI UX person is different
yeah,
from the job of a front end person.
yeah, right,
So the UI UX person designs how design.
yeah, just a like a typical design,
Yes. So the design, the flow, the design how the
how the
app
application should look
would
like.
look like,
Mhm,
how it should feel like,
mhm.
how the user who comes on, who wants to maybe sign up, why this button should be here or not here. So they understand they design it based on how they think that a user should experience and feel the application. That's a UI UX person, right? But then the front end person takes those design, convert it into code,
Yeah.
right, and make, it's a different, it's different when you just design a form and say I want to a sign up form, that a UI person would design the form. A front person would make the form actually work and
Using a
clickable
code. Yeah.
using code. Do you understand? And then the back end person will make when the front end person said, when the when people put input anything in the form, the back end person makes sure that the form data, whatever is in the form is collected and sent to the database. Do you understand? So those are like the different role each of these people play. So sometimes a UI person will design something, a front end person may not be able to like get the full implementation of that design. You get, it may not be able to completely implement it using code.
Because it's one thing to design, it's another
It's
thing to
yes, yes, it's another thing to code. So it's always good when we have front end people who have, is rare, and is, it takes lots of discipline and time to actually get mastery of those skills. But it's always good to have when you have a front end person that actually does design, does UI UX.
and also,
Do you
I mean, that's
understand?
does the two together. I
Yes,
think
does
that
those
that should
two.
be the solution actually, but like you said, it's rare. I mean, that's why we have specialists. I mean, it should. This
Yes,
is my own specialty. I just want to be
yes,
doing UI UX
yes.
design.
So
My own is front end. I mean, combining the two is might be difficult at times.
yes, it is difficult. So the full stack person comes in play. The full stack person does not have to know UI UX. You understand? His own is, oh, this design person has designed this thing. Okay, let me go and write it in code on the front end, and then let me make sure that what, it may not, most of the times they will not get the entire thing that the design person has done. Most of the times, it just takes someone that has gone through that journey of, or that phase of, oh, the person was a UI UX person and transitioned to a front end person and now learns back end. That's only when you get a full stack person that does everything seamlessly. But full stack people do great work, right? They do front end, they make sure that the front end works, not about the appeal, not necessarily about how it looks or making this button has this particular edge. They don't care about that, but they just ensure that maybe you've given me design, I will implement that design, right? I'll make sure it works and send the data to the database. So that's where they come in as full stack. They do the front end and they do the back end and they make sure that it works. But the appeal of those specific details that the UI person cares about, please don't stress the guy now.
Someone was replying to the tweet and said, all this UI UX guy, they go and they'll put everything, all the elements,
That
they
is
put
the
graphics, put this,
thing.
put motion, you want to stress the person that will code the thing.
Yes,
Why?
nah. Like there's this project program I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
I'm working with it with a friend. Build Next is a project program I recently started with a friend. So he designed the he designed the landing page
Okay.
of the website. Me, I don't dey do design. I know they do. Do you understand? I don't do design, right? My own is, oh, you've designed it in Figma. No, I like, give me, I'll convert it to front end code. I even try self. I did a good job, right?
Yeah.
But I don't care about some specific
Those little
detail. He cared
details.
about it. He was like, hey, we need to, that there's this button that is not showing like this. This one she's, I'm like, I just told him, see, I'll add it to the repo. You you make those updates.
It's not me,
Once,
it's you.
once you make those updates, it will show. No wahala.
And I mean that's the interesting thing about coding and design and all of that, especially this war between front end and back end guys, UI UX guys, sometimes product managers and
And devs.
engineers and devs, right? I mean that war is
Oh,
always
that one
there.
is
Right?
always
Let's
there.
move to the next question. Yeah. So moving on to the next question, what platforms would you recommend for people that are for newbies that want to go into software engineering?
Platforms.
Yeah. So I mean, I know you already mentioned PHP. You mentioned Python, right? So what applications or languages should they start with?
Okay. Well, applications. I think it depends on what you want to do, right, in the long term, and what you want to focus on. So, if you want to go into, if you're that person who is keen about, if you're interested in how things look, and you don't necessarily want to bother yourself with things on the server side and database stuff. Yeah, that means you want to focus on front end most of the times. So yeah, if you want to, and if you want to focus on front end, of course, the basic thing you have to first pick up, try to learn is HTML, CSS. Then JavaScript has to be your best friend. So if you want to, and the good thing about JavaScript is you can also use it on the back end, And we have these days we have frameworks and other tools that allows you to do stuff on the back end like Node.js, Express, right? With JavaScript. But I would always recommend start with HTML, CSS because those are the things you are going to do every day if you are going to be a front end person. Then pick up JavaScript. You need lots of JavaScript, so make JavaScript your best friend. And platforms you can learn
All of this
all of
from.
this
I
from
was
as
going
a
to come to
front end
that. Yeah.
person is I think I always recommend Free Code Camp.
Free Code Camp.
Yes,
Okay. Okay, it's on
freecodecamp.org.
the screen. Freecodecamp.org. Okay.
Yeah, because it's free and it helps you take your journey from 0 to 1. Yeah, it takes you from 0 to 1. So it gives you an end-to-end process of starting from even before they even start teaching you about HTML, they teach you about the whole course about web design and all of that. So it takes you from that. So if you want to do front end, I would recommend Free Code Camp. Then we also have Code Academy. Code Academy has courses as well that you can take. So yeah, those are places I would recommend. So, but if you want to, like someone like me, I don't really care about the things on the front. So I always find myself trying to be the behind the scenes person.
Yeah.
So you don't really see my face or see me say, oh, it's me. You get. I always try to do things that are on the back, make sure that the logic and all of those business operations are driven from on the back end side of things. So for me, if you're like me and you want to go into backend development, then of course pick up. I would always recommend Python. There are so many Python. There are so many backend languages. There's PHP. There's Python. There's Erlang. There's Golang. There's Elixir. There's Scala. Right, but two languages I would actually recommend. Of course, JavaScript as well is used on the back end, but you need like some frameworks for that. But I would recommend um Python first because it feels like English,
Yeah.
so it's easily relatable and things make sense. Yes, the reason I said things make sense is there's a lot of confusion with JavaScript as a language itself. So even when you are there and you're trying to add 1 plus 1 and it's telling you it's 11, could work, could does not add up. That's for JavaScript. So I always recommend Python because it is logical. It makes sense logically. So use Python. And places you can learn Python. I think there are so many places right out there and to learn Python. But this guy's course, there's this guy Mosh Hamedani.
Okay.
He has the very simple courses that you can, and then Microsoft has a couple of courses on YouTube. I
So there are
think
some courses on Coursera also, if I'm
yes,
not mistaken.
yes, there are courses on Coursera and on edX too. So I think some universities have Python courses on edX, on Coursera. So you can take Python courses there. So yeah, those are the places I would
Okay,
recommend.
yeah. I mean, it reminds me of a viral picture. Then that's the picture I'm showing on the screen right now, where you have people that are cooking backend for a party. They are cooking jollof rice. Those are the backend guys. You see them with the turning stick and the big pots turning the rice. Then the front end guys are the servers, the people that are serving the rice and the drink to the. I mean,
Yeah,
just trying to relate front end
yeah,
and
that's
back end.
very true.
That's I'm showing the picture on the screen right
Yeah.
now. Right, I mean, thanks for that. So let's move to the next question. Okay, yeah. So moving to the next question. During your early days as a software engineer, what are the mistakes you think you made, and share with my viewers so I mean so they don't make the same mistake.
Yeah, so I think the mistake I would say I made was not digging deep
Mm,
often. So, you know, the way tech works these days is there's something new, always something new coming
yeah.
up or that people are talking about. So sometimes people tend to you start learning about JavaScript today, but then tomorrow you're like
There's
there are
another
more job in
language.
there's more job in Python oh, than pick up. So all those kind of um so these days I advise people before you try to do so many things or learn so many languages, first do your research and try to
Mm, which one is relevant?
which
Which
one
one
is
is
really for
trending?
you for what you want to do. So
Mhm,
yeah, I know things you want to do evolve over time. I
mhm.
understand that. Try to learn everything at once. Pick up that HTML, do it. As far as once you get to a point where you can now do stuff by yourself in HTML, add some CSS to it. Learn about CSS. Try to go deep into something before trying to learn everything all at
Everything.
once. So don't try to say, okay, today pick up HTML, you're learning CSS and you're learning JavaScript, then tomorrow you're like, oh, I don't want to do JavaScript anymore. I want to go to, and then you come back
You
again
got
and
cheese. So
So
be you a specialist first before being a
generalist,
generalist?
yes.
Nice, makes sense. So apart from competence, what other skills do you think is necessary for a software engineer in today's world? Apart from competence, of course.
Yeah. I think um questioning things, right? Because that's what has that has been the main drive for me. So like I mentioned, when I started, I was like, why does this thing work this way?
Yeah.
So questioning things helps you get further into understanding things on a general on a how things work, and then beyond just understanding how things work, right? It is very good to understand how things work together. Do you understand? So I think those skills are things that will put you like ahead of
Improve
yeah.
stickiness.
You want to understand how things work, and then not just how things work in silos, like understand how they now fit together. You see, I mentioned before, if you're building a website, right? Of course, HTML is what is behind the scene, is
Yeah.
the backbone of every website you see out there. But then comes CSS, which gives you more the beauty, right? So now you understand that, oh, for this CSS to even work in the first place, I need HTML there, right? I need the backbone to be there. So like understanding systems, things how they work on a deeper level and how they work together as a system. Do you understand? So those are skills that there are things that I think once you train yourself, sometimes they're not things that we are born with, right? Not all of us are inquisitive, not all of us
Yeah,
want.
yeah, yeah.
So, but
The
then
more you do it,
yes, the
the
more
more
you
you
do
get
it, the
better.
more you see something and you're trying to ask yourself a couple of questions like, okay, why does this thing work this way? If I do this, will this thing still give me this work this way? Will it work in a different ways? Like questioning yourself helps a lot to pick up new things, and then trying to helps a lot to improve yourself as an engineer in general.
All right. Thanks for that, Hey. So let's move on to the next question. Talking about jobs for software engineers. I know the aspiration of most people in tech now is to get a remote role, right? Maybe for a company in the US or UK or Canada, right,
Yeah.
and work from Nigeria or wherever. And some even to Japa completely away from Nigeria. What platforms do you suggest for software engineers to get remote roles?
So the very first job I got when I decided that okay, let me see what it means to be an employee at least. So was I applied for it on a website called weworkremotely.com.
We work remotely.com. Okay.
Yes. So that platform allows you allows you to apply for remote jobs. And then I was in Nigeria back then. Yeah. Actually, the two jobs, even my current job, I got it from work remotely.
Um,
Yeah. So I got one first. The second one, I was trying to send it to a friend because I do that a lot. When I know that I have friends that are looking for stuff, I like send it.
just
So
share with them.
so when I shared it with him, I was like, okay, let me just apply. They won't beat me now. So so yeah, I would recommend work remotely because I've gotten two jobs that's proven to be good. Then we have hired.com, hired, hired.com.
Hired.com. Okay.
Yes. So I know a couple of people that have gotten jobs from hired as well. Um and then we have otta.com, otta.com. Yeah. One thing with Hired is you just create your profile and companies will be the ones reaching out to you. You
Okay.
don't have to do the work. So, but platforms like otta.com, yeah, I know someone who has gotten a job there. So then we have Angel List. Angel
Angel
List,
list. Yes,
yeah.
I know Angel list.
Angel List as well is a place. I actually have a profile on Angel List and I've gotten two companies reaching out for. I think I got one last week,
Oh,
and I
nice.
got one like 2 weeks ago. I just did not respond to them because I'm not looking at US companies right now. So yeah, I think those are the places that I have tested
Yeah.
or I know people who have gotten jobs from there. So I would recommend those ones.
Okay. I mean, nice. So talking about Japa, what's your opinion about Japan from Nigeria? And when did you make that conviction to yourself that I must leave this Nigeria?
Well, for me, it's been something I always talked about when I was a child.
Okay.
So it's not like it's something that I just decided. So I'd always told my mom back then that, see, I'm going to marry a white person and I'm going to invite you to my wedding, like send you, like I used to tell her, I was, I think about 10 or 9 back then. So I used to tell her that I'll get married outside the country, I'll live outside the country, even marry a white person. So I'd always
About
wanted to,
to.
yeah, do that. So Well, for me, the time to so I'd always my mind was always open to that, and I knew that whenever the opportunity arises, I'll pick it up and go. So I'd actually started making plans before, going through university routes, trying to look, okay, which schools can I apply for and stuff. So that option is there, but before technician, actually, it would have happened with me getting a job. Would have been the other route for me, because this job I currently work at is a Canadian company. They actually paid for my um, visa application and all of that for me to come to Canada. So yeah, Japa is something I've always wanted to do since I was small. So yeah,
I mean, that's one of the sweetest thing about working in tech. The world is a global village.
yep,
You can sit from where comfort of your wherever and work for companies, global companies, and most in some cases, like A has said, some of these companies even want you to relocate to their own physical location, and they take care of all the expenses and all the stress for you,
yeah,
right? Which is very good. Yeah. So talking about you mentioned sharing opportunities with people, with friends. I mean, which I like. I mean, I do that a lot personally also, and which is one of the reasons I even started this vlog to help people get information that we couldn't get back then, right? So talking about communities, are there communities for budding software engineers? And what communities do you think, or do you suggest people should join for software engineers? I mean,
yeah. I think back then, like there used to be a lot of physical and then people meet on Slack. So platforms like for females especially, we have She Code Africa.
okay, I know she
Yes,
code Africa.
yeah, we have She Code Africa. We have developers in Vogue, although that's in Ghana, but they are open to other people. And then we have a couple of Facebook groups, right? Meta. It used to be Facebook Developer Circle. So I recently joined some of them on Facebook. So I think Facebook is the best bet to find most of those places. Just do a search on Facebook, you find all of those people. So I've joined a couple of um, AI and machine learning groups where you can ask questions and talk to people. And then some of these groups also share they also share job updates and job offers. So I'd recommend, I think, um, because we don't want to be restricted to just females, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'd recommend for any other person out there, just go to Facebook, search for Meta Developer
Meta
Circle.
developers.
The Meta Developer Circle. So you find a lot of them. Like one of the ones I joined, we had many Nigerians there. So you find specific ones for Lagos. So sometimes they tend to like hold events, do all of those events and hangouts. So yeah, I think those are the places I would say.
Okay. So let's talk about your personal projects. Do you have any personal projects you're working on currently, especially in the AI and Web3 space?
Yes, I am. I do have a couple of projects that I have built and the ones that I'm currently working on. So the one I'm currently working on is in the Web3 space. So it's called Web3 Signal.
Okay.
The whole idea is to make it possible to find for now there's a long-term vision, but at the moment what we are building is a platform where people can discover Web3 projects.
Okay.
And we know that so many people have like cryptocurrencies that they have in their wallet, and they're like, okay, um before you can cash out this cryptocurrency, you have to actually convert it to your currency, right? To actually collect the money back. But then, if you have some of this cryptocurrency and you have someone else out there who needs it, right, and can offer a service for it, right, why don't you find those kind of companies, buy that service directly from them, and then pay them in that currency that they're willing to
Currency.
take? So basically, allowing you to find this kind of businesses and people who have built some awesome Web3 projects. You can find them there. So basically, it's a platform for finding and discovering this kind of businesses and people.
All right. Thanks so much for sharing that, and I wish you all the best with that. I mean, if there's any way you think I can come in or I can be of help. I mean, when the project is live, I mean, just let me know, right? All right. So thank you so much, guys, for watching so far. I know we've spent a lot of time, and I hope you're enjoying the conversation so far with A. As we round up the last two questions, please, if you're watching and you've not subscribed yet, kindly click that subscription button to subscribe to this channel, and also click on the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos, right? So let's move on to the last set of questions. I read from your profile that you love traveling. So what countries have you traveled to so far? Have you been to, and what other ones do you plan traveling to in the next future, in the nearest future?
Yeah. Well, I think I started my traveling journey of child from Ghana,
Okay.
then went through to, the funny thing is when I got uh I think when I applied for my first passport, I told myself that immediately I collected it at the what's that thing called, the is it the
Immigration.
immigration.
Yeah.
Immediately I collected it, I told the passport that I'm going to take you out of this country in the coming years. Yes. Then it happened. I went to Ghana. Then later on, that one expired. And when I got the new one,
The second one.
no, I went to Ghana and then I went to Morocco with that passport. Then when I got the new one, I was like, see, the next place I'm taking you to out of Africa. Then the next trip was to the US, and then yeah, I am in the UK,
Oh,
right?
nice.
So, and then for this year, we're thinking about um, the plan was to go to three countries,
Mm-hmm.
Singapore, and then there's lots of technology in Singapore. It's great and beautiful. So,
Be a
yeah,
great place to visit.
yes, very well. So that's one of the reasons I want to go to Singapore, and then Switzerland as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Switzerland. So the plan for this year is to go to those three, Switzerland, Singapore, and then to Dubai. People have been talking about Dubai. Let me go and see what is there. Let us rest. So so those are the plans for me this year.
Oh, nice. I mean, beautiful destinations, especially Dubai. Dubai. I'm sure you enjoy your trip to Dubai. It's a good place to visit, especially for tourists.
I
I'm
hope
sure you would
so.
enjoy it. You will enjoy it. Right. So the last question from me is: tech can be very boring at times,
Hmm.
and apart from traveling, right, which you already mentioned, how else do you unwind? How else do you relax when you're not
Hmm.
coding?
When I'm not coding, if I'm at home and I'm not coding, I think movies are the go-to places. So basically, Netflix. Yeah, watching lots of movies. Then, what I would have really loved to do is, as a child, I used to like draw and paint a lot. So that's something I think I would want to do outside tech eventually. Yeah, when I get the chance, I would still love to go back into art and do that. But for now, yeah, unwinding is mostly movies, and if I decide to not stay at home, of course it's just going to visit other people, going to see places, touring London. So yeah, that's the way I unwind most of the times.
All right. Thanks so much, Ayi. Thanks for this edition. Thank you for your questions, for taking my questions and being on this show so far. All right, guys. That is it on this edition of the chat today. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much, AE, for stopping by. Right. Please follow AE on all across our social media platforms. Twitter and LinkedIn. The links are shown on this screen and also in the video's description. If you have any question, I mean, apart from the questions I've asked AE about being a backend software engineer, if you have further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to her via the handles displayed. And also, you can send me an email or send me a DM on Twitter or Instagram, and I'll take it from there. Right. More importantly, please, as you've watched this video, kindly subscribe and also share this video with people in your network. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.